Markets have been so challenging in 2022. Today, I'm going to be looking at some of the best oversold opportunities that I can find for the month of May. So I like to look at data. So let's look at the Big Money Index. This is tracking all of the stocks that are getting bought and sold based on our process. What do we know? Well, we know the last 2 weeks has seen a tremendous amount of selling and, more importantly, a lot of less buying. So the BMI has fallen literally from a level of 71 almost to 40%. So there's two areas that I'm going to be looking for opportunity. One of them is going to be in the financial sector. And what you're looking at here are all the financial stocks, the buys and the sells. What's more important is there's been a ton of selling recently. And so look, if you're going to look for oversold stocks, they probably need to be in an area where things are getting sold. Another area that I know most everybody is aware of is technology. Technology stocks have just been getting crushed, right? People are worried about rising interest rates, inflation, you name it. But if there are any positive signs to show in this space, it's that selling has been slowing. You can see that with the shorter red bars. All right, so there's a lot of selling, but when I see markets as uncertain as they are now, I start thinking long-term, right? I'm not looking for a day trade or anything like that. Just looking for solid companies that are probably getting sold unfairly. And always remember, none of this is personalized advice of any kind. Let's get to our first stock now. My first oversold opportunity for May is Meta Platforms, which is formerly Facebook, right? And you guys know Facebook, huge social media giant. They've got Facebook.com, they've got Instagram, they've got WhatsApp, and they're also doing a lot with the metaverse. That is kind of like the focus over the long term. Now, why is it potentially oversold? Well, you can see through our big money indicator here, a lot of buy signals was going into the stock last year. It looks like through September. And then, the tech wreck basically came. Facebook was not spared. And, the company had some negative guidance along the way. You can see tremendous amount of selling. But the key is, if you're looking for a potential oversold opportunity, and I'm thinking more long-term, I want to be focused on stocks that have a history of strong fundamentals. And so I can look really quickly at this chart over here. And this is telling us that Facebook was going up with big money buying, and it has very strong fundamentals. The more blue, the better. That's the stairway to heaven. And I think you guys know Facebook has been a great performer over the long term. But let's go ahead and look at some of these fundamentals that stick out to me. 1-year sales growth of 37%, 3-year sales growth of 28%. I think the most important thing is that the 2-year versus 1-year EPS growth estimates. So what are they estimated to grow their EPS in 1 year is 18%. So those are strong numbers. Stocks, they move over the long term based on their earnings, and Facebook has a lot of earnings. They're sitting on billions and billions of cash right now. And also they always buy back shares with their share buyback plan. So if I go over here on the technicals, we can see that there are some poor scores, but there are a couple of them that are starting to get better. And that's what I want to focus on. Trades near its 12-week high. That is good. So as it is starting to show a little bit of momentum, that is a positive signal. And then also we can see that the stock is above its 50-day moving average. It is below its 100-day and its 200-day, but things do seem to be getting better for Meta. The number 2 oversold opportunity is a big one. It is Apple. And you guys know Apple. They've got iPhones, they manufacture iPads, they manufacture iPods, they've got Apple TV, they've got the App Store, you name it. Chances are, if you're watching this video, there are some Apple products that you use every single day. I know that I do. And so when you've got great products, usually that means that there's a great company behind it. So let's look at the big money signals. We can see that the stock has been in a relative uptrend over the past year. There has been a lot of buying. Then you see that it gets sold. Then big money comes back into the name. It gets sold. Then big money comes back into the name. We're at this level where the stock looks like it could be reaching another sell-off. This could be a potential opportunity because over the long run, you look at Apple, it has rewarded shareholders handsomely. And you can see that it is a fundamentally sound stock just by looking at all of these blue signals. And let's talk about fundamentals really quick. They just reported earnings, by the way. They reported Q2 EPS of $1.52 versus $1.42 analyst estimates. They increased their dividend. They increased their share repurchase by $90 billion. So they're doing a lot of things that benefit shareholders. And you can see they've got double-digit 1 and 3-year sales growth. They are estimated to grow their EPS by 7.1% next year. They've got a profit margin of 26%. These are all great. If you got to ding it, they do have an elevated debt to equity ratio, but a company with a history of just rewarding shareholders, people are making a lot of money. I think that you can forgive them on that one attribute. Let's look at technicals real quick. And it's not a bunch of poor scores. There's actually some okay ones. Their last buy signal was in late March, so that's relatively positive. And then also, it is relatively close to its 52-week high. This stock looks like a potential oversold opportunity. The number 3 oversold opportunity is Garmin. And full disclosure, I own this in personal and managed accounts. So the stock trades at about $112. And they are a GPS navigation company. So whether it's an automobile, whether it's boats, whether it's planes, they have their hands in a lot of that. Also in the fitness segment, that has been another area of growth over the past few years. But let's go ahead and look at the chart real quick. And this one was blasting off last year. Tons of big money was going into the name up until August of last year. And then the growth scare came. Right? All of the worries on Wall Street about inflation, they started hitting a lot of technology stocks. Garmin, it was not immune. But if I'm looking for an oversold opportunity and I'm thinking long-term, the types of companies that I gravitate to are the ones that historically are big money favorites. They're the ones that tend to have great, strong fundamentals, right? They're growing their sales, they're growing their earnings, right? Those are the types of companies that I'm looking for, and Garmin clearly is a long-term winner. But let's go over some of the fundamentals. Their 1-year sales growth of 19%, 3-year sales growth of 14%. They're estimated to grow EPS by 12% next year. That is so positive. Debt to equity ratio is 1.5%. I was looking at their cash balance too. It looks like it's about $1.7 billion. And this is on a company that has a market cap of just over 21 billion. So they have a lot of great things under the hood, and that's very important when you're looking for oversold opportunities. Now, if we look at the technicals, a lot of poor grades, but I'm going to focus on one of the good ones, and that is that it's trading near its 12-week high. So basically over 3 months, the stock is actually performing relatively well. I think it's oversold. The number 4 oversold opportunity is Alphabet Inc. They are the parent of Google. Ticker is GOOGL. The previous close is right around $2,350 per share. They do have a forward split that's coming. So, if you don't like high price stocks, they are going to be reducing their share price based on the share split. But we all know Google. They have some of the biggest real estate online, whether you are using a search engine like Google, you're using YouTube, you name it, chances are you are interacting with Google every time you open your phone or look on your computer. Now, their chart looks very similar to some of the other tech stocks that we have seen. There was just so much buying that went into the names late last year. And then we started hearing about the inflation worries, and we started hearing about interest rates and all of that. And all of these tech stocks just got hit, Google included. But if we look back historically over the past few years, usually when you see these sell areas, it tends to be an opportunity, right? Because there's big buying that comes in after, right? Big institutional money managers, they are looking for high quality stocks on sale. And then even going back further, we can see that this has been one of the highest ranked stocks going back since let's just keep going. Yeah, this is the stairway to heaven, tons and tons of blue. That is what you want to see. This stock clearly has been growing their earnings at a crazy fast clip for years. That is opportunity. So let's look at these fundamentals really quick. Look at this, double-digit 1 and 3 year sales growth of a company this size. This is a market cap of $1.5 trillion. It's got a forward PE ratio of just 21. It's got a reasonable debt to equity ratio of just over 11%, a profit margin of almost 30%. They are expected to grow their EPS by almost 20% next year. These are phenomenal earnings. And if you look over to the right, it's only penalized based on the way we look at things is technicals, right? And we can see the stock is below its 50-day, 100-day, and 200-day moving average. I think this is a tremendous long-term opportunity. Let's get to number 5. This is also a name that I own in personal and managed accounts, and it is Visa. So financial company, credit cards, they've just got this huge network, for paying for things, right? If you're gonna go and buy groceries, you're gonna go buy something online, chances are you're gonna be using a credit card. So let's look at this chart. And again, real choppy stuff here. Lots of buying, then selling, lots of buying. If we go back, what do we see? Usually when there's these big, deep sell-offs, it can mean an opportunity. Look at that. Big selling, followed by big buying. Obviously the pandemic, everything got sold, followed by big buying. And then you know what I like to do. Has this been a highly ranked stock for years? It has. It's a dividend grower as well. Just a great name. They are very, very profitable. Again, the blue signals tell us that this is usually a name that big money managers flock to whenever they go on sale. And looking at these fundamentals, that kind of tells you why. So double-digit one-year sales growth, only 5% growth on a 3-year sales growth rate. But look at this. In 1 year, their EPS growth estimate is going to be 17%. That is awesome. Very big profit margin. If I had to ding it, it does have a forward PE ratio of just over 29, so that is relatively expensive versus the market, which I think the forward is about 18. But if I'm going to focus on the technicals, there are a bunch of poor, but there is one that is relatively good, and that is trades near its 12-week high. So on a 3-month basis, it's starting to show a little momentum. I think that this is a long-term oversold opportunity. So those are the best oversold opportunities that I could find for the month of May. Please keep in mind, none of this is personalized advice of any kind. You should always be doing your own research. We're just trying to show you the power of using data to help you find some great potential investments. You guys hang in there. I know the markets are rough, but keep your mind straight. Always think long-term. Eventually, you're going to find success. I will see you guys next time.